The black tower floated silently on the deserted planet, tall and sharp against the pale sky. Stories about it had spread across the galaxy. Every explorer who had tried to enter had vanished, and every alien species warned their young to never go near it. The tower was said to be cursed. Its walls were dark, metal, and strange symbols glowed faintly on them. Some said it was alive, that it could feel fear and anger. Others whispered that no one who stepped inside ever returned. A team of aliens arrived in a sleek silver ship, their heads full of curiosity and pride. They were experts in exploration, sure that this time they could solve the mystery. They landed on the rocky ground near the tower. Its shadow stretched long over the jagged terrain, making even the bravest hearts feel small. The aliens stepped out, scanning the tower with glowing devices. Their sensors flickered. The readings were unlike anything they had ever seen. "Stay alert," said Zorak, the team leader. His voice was firm, but there was tension under it. "We don't know what waits inside." The team approached the massive door at the base of the tower. It was taller than any of them, carved with sharp shapes that seemed to shift when looked at closely. A low hum came from inside, a sound that made the hairs on their arms rise. The leader touched the surface, and the door slowly opened without a sound. Light spilled out from the inside, soft and warm, almost welcoming. The aliens blinked. They had expected darkness, traps, monsters, or at least something terrifying. Instead, the hall was bright and clean. Smooth floors reflected the light, walls were polished, and there was a faint scent of something pleasant in the air. They stepped inside cautiously, scanning every corner, their eyes wide. And then they saw him. A human was sweeping the floor. He was small and ordinary-looking. His clothes were plain, his movements calm, almost casual. Dust rose gently in little clouds around him as he pushed the broom back and forth. He hummed a soft tune, completely unaware of the staring aliens. Who is that?" whispered one of the explorers. "That's a human," said Zorak, astonished. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy, usually limited to their own sectors. But more than that, this human looked completely unafraid. The hall that had scared hundreds of alien explorers did not scare him at all. The human noticed them and smiled. "Oh, hello. Didn't expect visitors today," he said, his voice cheerful and calm. "Name's Ethan. Careful with that corner, it's a bit slippery." The aliens froze. They had come expecting danger, curses, or monsters. Instead, they found a janitor talking like it was just another day at work. He walked past them with a mop, gesturing them forward. "This tower, it's dangerous," said Zorak, stepping carefully. "No one has ever survived inside." Ethan laughed softly. "Dangerous? Maybe if you don't know it. I've been here for years. I clean, I sweep, I make sure things stay tidy." He waved the broom like it was a magic wand. "Tower's got a lot of rooms, lots of strange lights, but it's my home." The aliens exchanged nervous glances. They had been told the tower was cursed, deadly, and alive. And here was a human living there as if it were a normal apartment. "Living here, alone?" asked one alien, voice trembling. "Not alone," said Ethan, tilting his head. "Tower's company enough. Keeps me busy, keeps me safe." He winked and continued sweeping. "Sometimes it rearranges rooms, sometimes doors open where they shouldn't. But I've learned how it likes things. It listens if you treat it kindly." The aliens hesitated. The walls hummed again and soft lights danced along the edges of the floor. It was alive, yes, but it seemed calm, almost happy, as if Ethan's presence made it so. Zorak stepped forward. "We came to study the tower, maybe control it. We didn't expect a human to." His words stopped. Ethan just smiled, brushing a corner of dust with careful hands. "You're welcome to look around," Ethan said, shrugging. "But don't touch anything heavy. And don't wake the big machine in the main hall unless you want a loud surprise." The aliens followed him slowly. Each step seemed strange. The walls shifted slightly, the floor hummed under their feet, yet nothing attacked them. The more they looked at Ethan, the more they understood something. The human janitor was not afraid because the tower accepted him. Somehow, in all the years that had killed explorers, Ethan had earned the trust of this place. For the first time, the aliens wondered if the tower had ever truly been cursed, or if it had just been waiting for the right person. Someone small, unassuming, and kind. Someone who could live here not to conquer it but to care for it. Ethan finished his sweeping and leaned on his broom. "Well," he said with a grin, "now that you're here, would you like a quick tour? Watch your step and don't trip over the glowing panels. They bite if you're clumsy." The aliens blinked, unsure whether to be amazed or terrified. This tiny human had entered the heart of the galaxy's most feared tower, and made it home. And so, the journey into the tower began not with screams or fear, but with a mop, a broom, and a human janitor who seemed to control the impossible with nothing more than calm and courage. Ethan moved through the halls of the tower like he had walked them 1,000 times before. His broom whispered against the polished floor, dust rising in soft clouds that shimmered in the tower's strange light. The aliens followed him slowly, unsure where to look. Every wall, every panel seemed alive. Symbols glowed and shifted, floors hummed softly under their feet, and lights followed Ethan wherever he went. Yet he walked calmly, smiling as if nothing was unusual. "This is unbelievable," whispered Zorak, his eyes wide. "The tower reacts to him, but not to us." Ethan laughed softly. "It likes me. Been here long enough to know how to talk to it. It listens if you treat it well." He waved his hand and a door in the wall opened without a sound. Inside was a small room filled with strange machinery, glowing softly. The aliens stared, expecting alarms, traps, or attacks. But the machines hummed quietly, obedient to Ethan's presence. "This is the main corridor," Ethan said, pointing to the path ahead. "Some doors lead to rooms that change every day. Keeps things interesting. I have to keep an eye on them or they get messy." One of the aliens, smaller and green-skinned, stepped closer. "Messy? It moves on its own?" Ethan nodded, smiling. "Exactly. Floors shift, walls grow, lights wander. But I've learned its patterns. You just have to respect it. Treat it like a friend, not a weapon." The aliens followed as Ethan entered another hall. The ceiling arched high above, with moving panels that reflected light in soft patterns. A soft wind brushed against their faces, even though there were no windows. Ethan walked under a glowing panel and the wind stopped. Another panel lit up when he stepped under it, as if greeting him. "I call this place Terra," Ethan said casually, almost as if naming a pet. "It's complicated, but it's not mean. Just careful. It likes order and I like cleaning." Zorak tilted his head. "So all those explorers, they just didn't understand it?" Ethan shrugged. "Probably. I didn't at first either. First day I got here, I almost ran screaming. But then I listened and it listened back. We figured each other out." He gestured to a glowing doorway. "Come on. I'll show you the kitchen area." The aliens hesitated but followed. Inside there were no food machines or restaurants. Instead there were strange boxes that hummed and shifted almost like living objects. Ethan opened one carefully and warm air filled the room. He placed a small cup inside and it filled itself with water. "See? Nothing dangerous if you're careful," he said. He handed the cup to Zorak, who took it with trembling fingers. The water was warm, clean, and tasted faintly sweet. The aliens exchanged glances. This human, he lived here yet nothing bad had happened. They walked deeper into the tower. Ethan moved with ease, stepping over moving panels and ducking under lights that followed him. Every corner seemed to bend to his presence. Doors opened and closed automatically, machines activated and deactivated as he passed, and even the faint symbols on the walls glowed brighter when he smiled. The aliens watched, trying to understand. "How can one human control all this?" whispered one softly. "It's impossible." Ethan chuckled. "I don't control it. I just live with it. Treat it like I would a friend or a pet. That's all. The tower isn't evil. Smart and it likes routine. I give it routine and it gives me peace." They entered a large hall where strange machines hung from the ceiling. Some spun slowly, casting soft blue light, while others hummed in quiet rhythm. Ethan walked among them, brushing dust off panels and adjusting small levers. The machines responded instantly, lights changing, panels moving, as if they knew exactly what he wanted. "This is my favorite part," Ethan said. "Everything here moves, but if you're careful, it's beautiful. Keeps the tower alive." The aliens could only stare. They had faced dangerous creatures, powerful weapons, and deadly traps. Yet here was a human janitor, walking calmly, cleaning, humming, and making friends with what they thought was a curse. Ethan paused at a corner, looking back at them. "Don't worry. Nothing will hurt you if you follow me and respect the rules. Terra likes visitors, as long as they're polite." Zorak nodded slowly. "I think I understand now. The tower isn't cursed. It just didn't trust anyone else." Ethan smiled. "Exactly. You see, fear makes the tower respond badly. Courage, patience, kindness, that's what it listens to. And I've had plenty of practice." He led them to a smaller hall filled with tiny lights floating in the air. "These are cleaning drones. They do most of the work, but I check on them. They're loyal like everything else here. Follow simple rules and they follow you back." The aliens moved carefully, letting the drones buzz around. Every time Ethan smiled or nodded, the drones responded with gentle movements, almost playful. It was like watching a dance, orderly and alive, yet completely peaceful. For hours, the aliens followed Ethan, learning the strange patterns of the tower. They saw that it was alive, yes, but not dangerous to him. It had accepted him, trusted him, and allowed him to live there in peace. By the end of the tour, Zorak whispered to his team, "I've never seen anything like this. One human, and the tower bends for him." Ethan laughed softly, pushing his broom along a glowing floor. "I don't bend it. We live together. That's all. It's my home. And I like it here." The aliens could only nod, realizing that the most feared place in the galaxy was just a home, for the human janitor who had earned the trust of a tower no one else could survive. Ethan led the alien team deeper into the tower, his steps calm as if he were walking through his own home. The walls shimmered faintly, patterns moving like living ribbons of light. Some corridors curved impossibly, yet he navigated them without hesitation. Every time the aliens stumbled or hesitated, a panel would shift or a door would open just enough to guide them. It was as if the tower itself knew him and trusted him completely. "Why does it respond to you and not us?" asked Lyra, a small blue-skinned explorer. Her eyes darted nervously at the glowing panels and shifting walls. Ethan smiled and leaned on his broom. "I don't control it," he said simply. "I listen. I respect it. The tower isn't cruel. It's careful. It watches, it waits, and it decides who it trusts. I've learned how to be honest with it." The aliens were silent. It was difficult to believe that the most feared structure in the galaxy was not a deadly trap, but a living place with its own rules. Every corner of the tower was alive in some way, lights that followed Ethan, floors that hummed under his steps, doors that opened before he reached them, and machines that shifted or glowed softly when he passed. "This is my daily routine," Ethan said, guiding them into a large hall filled with hovering machines that spun slowly, casting soft glows. "I clean, I organize, I check on the machines. Keeps the tower calm. If you leave things messy or loud, it reacts badly. Makes sense, right? Everything here has a mind of its own." One of the aliens, a tall, orange-skinned engineer named Karan, reached out toward a glowing panel. "It's fascinating but dangerous, isn't it?" Ethan shook his head. "Not if you understand it. Fear is what makes it dangerous. If you panic, if you're greedy or cruel, the tower doesn't like you. But if you are careful, polite, and patient, it listens. That's all I do." The team followed as he walked to a smaller corridor lined with strange glowing symbols. Ethan tapped one symbol lightly, and a section of the wall rotated silently, revealing a tiny room. Inside, dozens of small drones hovered in neat formations, buzzing quietly like living insects. "These are the cleaning drones," Ethan explained. "I check on them every day. They're loyal if you treat them right. Don't hurt them, don't panic around them, and they won't hurt you. Simple rule." The aliens watched in awe as Ethan moved among the drones. He waved his hand and they shifted into a perfect circle, almost like a dance. Lights pulsed softly in rhythm with his movements. One of the drones hovered near Lyra, then quickly flew back to Ethan when he looked at it. "Even the drones obey him," whispered Karan. "How is that possible?" Ethan laughed softly. "It's not magic. Just trust. This tower is alive, yes, but it doesn't want to harm anyone who respects it. The drones, the panels, the machines, they all follow simple rules. I just learned them." They moved on into a hall that curved impossibly, the floor glowing faintly beneath their feet. Strange symbols moved along the walls like flowing water. Ethan stepped carefully, and the symbols seemed to part slightly, giving him space. The alien stepped behind, careful not to touch anything. "This tower has secrets," Ethan said, glancing back at them. "It can be dangerous if you ignore it. But it also protects. Protects if it trusts you. That's why I've survived here. That's why no one else has." The aliens exchanged uneasy glances. They had read reports of explorers being trapped in shifting corridors, disappearing into rooms that never existed, or being crushed by walls that moved without warning. And yet here was a human, moving freely, humming softly, brushing dust, adjusting panels, and even laughing occasionally. Ethan led them to another chamber. This one was larger, with machines hanging from the ceiling, spinning and glowing. Some panels displayed moving lights, others projected soft holograms of shapes that no alien could identify. Ethan approached one panel and tapped it lightly. It emitted a gentle hum and rearranged itself to show a clean grid. "See? It listens," Ethan said. "All it asks is that I do my part. Keep things in order, be careful, respect the rules. Nothing more." The aliens looked at one another, understanding slowly dawning. The tower was not cursed. It had simply never been treated with respect or patience by the humans and aliens who had tried to conquer it. Their fear, greed, or curiosity had triggered its defenses. Ethan had something they did not. He cared, and he followed the tower's rules without expecting rewards. As they walked deeper, a faint breeze brushed past their faces, even though there were no windows. Ethan laughed lightly. Sometimes it likes to remind me it's alive. Keeps things interesting. Helps me stay alert. You'll see more as we go on. The aliens noticed that even when walls shifted or corridors bent, Ethan moved naturally, stepping where the floor would rise, ducking under glowing panels and adjusting small levers with perfect timing. He did not rush, did not panic, and never seemed afraid. Zorak, the leader, finally spoke. I think I understand. The tower is alive, yes, but it doesn't attack him because it trusts him. And no one else has earned that trust. Ethan smiled, pushing his broom along a glowing floor. Exactly. Fear makes the tower respond badly. Courage, patience, and kindness, that's what it listens to. I've had years of practice. The aliens followed silently as Ethan led them through another twisting corridor filled with floating lights. The drones buzzed around, shifting with his movements, casting soft blue glows on the walls. Machines hummed softly, panels rearranged without warning, yet everything felt peaceful. By the end of their walk, the aliens understood something important. The tower was not a weapon or a curse. It was a living, thinking structure. And the human janitor, ordinary as he seemed, had found a way to live within it, to calm it, and to coexist with its strange power. Ethan stopped and leaned on his broom, smiling. That's my routine. Sweep, clean, check, and keep everything in order. Simple, right? But it works. The aliens nodded slowly, awe and respect filling their hearts. In the galaxy's most feared tower, a human janitor had found a place not only to survive but to thrive. And as they looked around at the shifting lights and glowing walls, they realized that the most dangerous place in the galaxy was also the most peaceful, for the human who had learned its secrets. Ethan was sweeping a wide hall when the sensors in the tower began to flicker. The soft hum of the lights shifted into a low vibration, echoing through the walls. He paused, his brow furrowed, listening. Something was coming. The aliens noticed too, their heads turning toward the door as faint shadows appeared in the distance. What is it? Whispered Lyra, her blue skin shimmering in the strange light. Ethan did not answer at first. He walked slowly toward the main corridor, his broom still in hand. Trouble, he said finally. Not from the tower, but from outside. Zorak stepped forward. Outside? Who could threaten this place? Nothing alive has ever come here willingly. Ethan shook his head. Some live to destroy. Some want power. And some have fleets capable of doing both. He paused at a glowing panel and tapped it lightly. The symbols shifted to a warning pattern. A warlord fleet is approaching. They've heard about the tower. They want it for themselves. The aliens froze. A fleet capable of reaching this remote planet was a serious threat. The stories Ethan had told them about the tower's power were nothing compared to the reality of a war fleet. Ships could blast through planetary defenses, and these were not peaceful explorers, they were conquerors. Can the tower defend itself? Asked Karan, the tall orange-skinned engineer. His voice trembled slightly. Ethan shook his head slowly. Not completely. It can protect itself in small ways, confuse intruders, maybe disable a few ships. But a full fleet? No. That's why I'm here. I have to stop them. The aliens looked at him in disbelief. He was a janitor. A small human who spent his days sweeping floors and checking drones. How could he possibly face a fleet of warships? I'm not going to run, Ethan said firmly. This is my home. And I promised Tara I would take care of her. That means protecting her from anyone who wants to use her for harm. The tower reacted almost instantly. Lights shifted, panels moved, and corridors seemed to lengthen. It was alive, aware of the threat. Ethan walked through the hallways with calm determination, touching the walls lightly, speaking softly. Tara, they're coming. I need you to help me. The aliens followed, their hearts pounding. Machines that had been calm now hummed with energy. Drones moved faster, lights glowed brighter, and strange symbols on the walls flickered like warning signals. It was as if the entire tower was preparing itself for battle, but under Ethan's control, calm and ready, not panicked. Zorak whispered, "It listens to him, but is that enough?" Ethan did not answer. Instead, he walked to the main hall, where the largest machines hung from the ceiling. He touched one gently and it responded, humming louder, its lights brightening. The hall seemed to breathe as Ethan spoke to it softly. "We're going to be okay. You just need to do what you do best. Protect us but don't hurt them if you can help it. The aliens watched, amazed. A human was talking to a building, or a machine, like it was a friend, not a weapon. And the tower responded as if it understood every word. Outside, the warlord fleet approached, massive ships casting shadows over the planet's surface. Sensors in the tower detected them instantly. Ethan did not flinch. Instead, he moved calmly, checking panels, adjusting drones, tapping glowing symbols. Each motion was precise, confident. "They're strong," said Lyra quietly. "Even if the tower fights, can one human handle them?" Ethan smiled faintly. "I'm not handling them alone. Tara is." He waved his hand, and the lights in the hall shifted into patterns that hummed with energy. The drones rose into formations, moving quickly, almost like soldiers ready for orders. The aliens realized something important. Ethan was not the tower's master. He was its caretaker. And the tower was alive, powerful, and willing to defend its home because it trusted him. The fleet fired a distant shot. The ground trembled slightly, and some of the outer panels of the tower glowed red with impact. Ethan stepped forward calmly, speaking softly to the walls. "Tara, steady. Protect, don't destroy. Keep them away from the halls." The machines responded immediately. Lights pulsed, corridors shifted, and small mechanical arms extended from the walls. Panels rotated to block incoming energy, drones buzzed in protective formations, and some of the glowing symbols shot pulses of light toward the sky. The fleet's first attack was blocked with minimal damage. The aliens stared in awe. They had seen battles before. They had seen fleets destroyed in seconds by advanced weapons. But they had never seen a janitor, small and unassuming, standing in the middle of the most feared tower in the galaxy, controlling its defense with nothing more than calm words and trust. Ethan walked slowly through the hall, touching walls and guiding machines. "They think this tower is just a prize," he said softly. "But it's alive. And it will fight only if it has to." The aliens understood finally. Fear could not protect them. Weapons could not protect them. Only courage, calm, and trust could. And Ethan, the human janitor, had all three. Outside, the fleet continued its approach, unaware of the strange power awaiting them. Inside, Ethan prepared quietly, sweeping the floor, adjusting a few machines and speaking softly to the tower. He was ready. Not with anger, not with greed, not with fear, but with simple human courage. And as the shadows of warships fell across the glowing halls, the tower's lights pulsed brighter than ever. Ethan stood in the center, calm as ever, ready to defend his home, ready to protect Tara. And the aliens knew, without a doubt, that no fleet in the galaxy could take this place from the human who had earned its trust. The warlord fleet loomed over the planet, massive ships casting long shadows across the rocky ground. Energy pulses flashed as their weapons charged, preparing to strike the tower. Inside, Ethan walked calmly, his broom in one hand and a small control panel in the other. He did not panic. He had faced fear before, but never like this. The aliens followed, wide-eyed, unsure how a human could face such power with only his presence and quiet confidence. "Tara," Ethan said softly, touching the wall as if greeting a friend. "They're coming. You know what to do, right?" The lights in the hall pulsed in response, flowing along the walls and ceiling like water. Drones lifted from their resting positions, forming lines and circles, hovering in synchronized patterns. Machines hummed louder, panels shifted into defensive formations, and the very floors seemed to vibrate with energy. The tower was alive and it was listening to Ethan. "Can one human really control all this?" whispered Lyra, stepping close to Zorak. Her voice trembled, but her eyes were filled with awe. Ethan smiled faintly. "I don't control it. I guide it. I give it calm and it gives me trust. Fear makes it fight blindly. Calm makes it protect. That's all you need to know." Outside, the warlord fleet fired its first salvo. Beams of energy tore through the thin atmosphere, striking the outer walls of the tower. Panels glowed red where they were hit, but the tower shifted instantly. Sections rotated, absorbing the blasts, redirecting energy harmlessly into the ground. The drones swirled around the hall, creating a shield of moving light that blocked debris and energy pulses. The aliens gasped. They had expected destruction. They had expected screaming, panic, or chaos. But the tower stood strong, responding to Ethan's quiet guidance, almost like a living guardian. Ethan moved through the hall, touching the glowing panels and whispering to them. "Steady. Defend but don't hurt them if you can help it. Protect the halls, protect me, protect the tower." The tower responded immediately. Doors shifted to create barriers, walls rotated to shield vulnerable areas, and hidden machines activated, sending beams of light and energy into the sky to disrupt the fleet's targeting systems. The drones moved faster, forming complex formations that confused sensors and radar. The aliens could barely believe what they were seeing. Karan whispered, "I've seen fleets destroyed by weapons before, but never controlled by a single human like this. It's unreal." Ethan nodded but did not slow down. He moved calmly, sweeping debris, adjusting panels, tapping drones, and speaking softly to the tower. His voice carried no fear, only quiet confidence. The tower, in return, obeyed instantly, bending its power to defend without harming unnecessarily. The warlord fleet, surprised by the resistance, fired again and again. Beams slammed into the tower's walls, shaking the ground beneath the aliens' feet. But each time the tower adapted. Sections rotated, shields glowed, and energy pulses disrupted the attacks. The drones formed walls of moving light that absorbed incoming fire. Machines shifted their positions like dancers in a synchronized performance. The aliens were stunned. "This human, he's not just surviving. He's commanding it," Lyra whispered. "The tower listens to him not out of fear but trust." Ethan continued walking calmly through the halls, touching walls, adjusting machines, and whispering instructions. "Tara, steady, guide them away from the halls, protect the drones, keep the pattern strong. You know what to do." The tower responded like a living creature, its energy pulsing, lights shifting, panels moving, and drones swarming in defensive formations. For every strike the fleet launched, the tower answered with precision. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was reckless. Everything worked together. Outside, the warlord fleet began to falter. Their weapons were disrupted by the tower's defensive energy, their ships confused by moving panels and flashing lights. They tried to retreat, but the tower systems made navigation difficult, forcing them to slow down. The aliens watched, unable to move, witnessing the impossible. Ethan walked to the center of the main hall and placed his hand on a large glowing panel. "It's okay," he whispered. "You've done well. Keep them away from the halls and don't hurt anyone unless necessary. Calm, steady, trust." The tower pulsed brightly in response, sending waves of energy outward that disabled several incoming ships without harming their crews. The drones buzzed in synchronized circles, intercepting attacks and protecting the halls. Machines adjusted automatically, creating barriers, shields, and traps that were non-lethal but highly effective. The aliens finally understood. Ethan was not a master of weapons or machines. He was a master of calm, courage, and trust. He did not fight the fleet with anger or greed. He guided the tower with patience and understanding. And the tower, alive and powerful, responded with perfect loyalty. The warlord fleet, realizing they could not overcome the tower, began to retreat. Ships limped away, some damaged, their weapons disabled. The planet grew quiet again. Inside, the hall was calm, lights returning to their gentle glow. The drones settled back into their positions, machines hummed softly, and the walls seemed to breathe a quiet sigh. Ethan leaned on his broom, smiling faintly. "All in a day's work," he said quietly. "The tower is safe, the halls are safe, and so are we." The aliens looked at him in awe. They had seen fleets, wars, and weapons, but nothing like this. A simple human janitor, with no armor or weapons, had faced an entire fleet and guided a living tower to defend itself. He had done it not with anger or strength, but with courage, calm, and trust. Zorak whispered, This is why humans are so dangerous. Not because of weapons, but because of courage." Ethan laughed softly, pushing his broom along the glowing floor. "I'm just a janitor," he said. "But I care. And apparently that's enough." The aliens nodded silently. They knew that this human, ordinary in every way, had awakened something extraordinary in the galaxy. The most feared tower, the one no one had ever survived, had a guardian. And that guardian was a human who understood courage, calm, and trust in a way no one else could. And as Ethan continued sweeping, adjusting machines, and speaking softly to the tower, it became clear. No one could enter the cursed tower, not because it was deadly, but because no one else had the heart to live there.